Hello, everybody. Welcome back for another Bible story reading. We have been going through the different stories of the Bible for people who don't know what the stories are. Maybe you've only read bits and pieces of the story, only heard what other people have told you, or you don't know the stories at all. Whatever the case may be, we go through the stories so that you can be literate when it comes to the stories. And when they come up in conversation or you see something, maybe you see a meme or a joke about something in the Bible, you know what it is referring to. So we have been going through the story of David and how he, let's see, where did we leave off? We left off with 1 Samuel 26. And nope, we didn't. I'm in the wrong chapter, so I apologize. I thought we were a little further along than we were. We left off with chapter 24. My apologies. And we are picking up now with 1 Samuel 25. So where we've left off, David has escaped from Saul. He had the opportunity to kill Saul, and he didn't take it. Instead, he spared Saul's life. Now him and Saul have gone separate ways, and Saul has realized David really is going to become king someday. So now David is traveling around, and things are really going to get heated up here. And we're going to start with chapter 25. Samuel died. Before we go on, remember Samuel is the one who anointed both Saul and David to become king. He was the priest that before they had kings, everybody went to find out what they needed to do. Samuel died, and all Israel assembled to mourn for him, and they buried him by his home in Ramah. David then went down to the wilderness of Paran. A man in Maon had a business in Carmel. He was a very rich man with 3,000 sheep and 1,000 goats, and was shearing his sheep in Carmel. The man's name was Nabal, and his wife's name Abigail. The woman was intelligent and beautiful, but the man, a Calebite, was harsh and evil in his dealings. When David was in the wilderness, he heard that Nabal shearing sheep. So David sent 10 young men, instructing them, "Go up to Carmel, and when you come to Nabal, greet him in my name. Then say this: long life to you and peace to you, peace to your family and peace to all that is yours. I hear that you are shearing. When your shepherds were with us, we did not harass them, and nothing of theirs was missing the whole time that they were in Carmel. Ask your young men, and they will tell you. So let my young men find favor with you, for we have come on a feast day. Please give whatever you have on hand to your servants and to your son David." David's young men went and said all these things to Nabal on David's behalf, and they waited. Nabal asked them, "Who is David? Who is Jesse's son? Many slaves these days are running away from their masters. Am I supposed to take my bread, my water, my meat that I butchered for my shearers and give them to these men? I don't know where they are from." David's young men retraced their steps. When they returned to him, they reported all these words. He said to his men, "All of you, put on your swords." So each man put on his sword, and David also put on his sword. About 400 men followed David, while 200 stayed with the supplies. One of Nabal's young men informed Abigail, Nabal's wife, "Look, David sent messengers from the wilderness to greet our master, but he screamed at them. The men treated us very well when we were in the field. We weren't harassed, and nothing of ours was missing the whole time we were living among them. They were a wall around us, both day and night, the entire time we were with them, herding the sheep. Now consider carefully what you should do, because there is certain to be trouble for your master and his entire family. He is such a worthless fool, nobody can talk to him." Abigail hurried, taking 200 loaves of bread, 2 clay jars of wine, 5 butchered sheep, a bushel of roasted grain, 100 cluster of raisins, and 200 cakes of pressed figs, and loaded them on donkeys. Then she said to her male servants, Go ahead of me, I will be right behind you." But she did not tell her husband Nabal. As she rode the donkey down a mountain pass hidden from view, she saw David and his men coming toward her, and met them. David had just said, "I guarded everything that belonged to this man in the wilderness for nothing. He was not missing anything, yet he paid me back evil for good. May God punish me, and do so severely, if I let any of his males survive until morning." When Abigail saw David, she quickly got off the donkey and knelt down with her face to the ground and paid homage to David. She knelt at his feet and said, "The guilt is mine, my lord, but please let your servant speak to you directly. Listen to the words of your servant. My lord should pay no attention to this worthless fool Nabal, for he lives up to his name. His name means stupid, and stupidity is all he knows. I, your servant, didn't see my lord's young men whom you sent. Now, my lord, as surely as the Lord lives, and as you yourself live, it is the Lord who kept you from participating in bloodshed and avenging yourself by your own hand. May your enemies and those who intend to harm my lord be like Nabal. Let this gift of your servant that your servant has brought to my lord be given to the young men who followed my lord. Please forgive your servant's offense, for the Lord is certain to make a lasting dynasty for my lord, because he fights the Lord's battles. Throughout your life, may evil not be found in you. Someone is pursuing you and intends to take your life. My Lord's life is tucked safely in the place where the Lord your God protects the living, but he is flinging away your enemies' lives like stones from a sling. When the Lord does for my Lord all the good he promised you and appoints you ruler over Israel, there will not be remorse or a troubled conscience for my Lord because of needless bloodshed or Lord's revenge. And when the Lord does good for my Lord, may you remember me, your servant." Then David said to Abigail, "Blessed be the Lord God of Israel, who sent you to meet me today. May your discernment be blessed, and may you be blessed today. Today you keep me from participating in bloodshed and avenging myself by my own hand. Otherwise, as surely as the Lord God of Israel lives, who prevented me from harming you, if you had not come quickly to meet me, Nabal wouldn't have had any males left by morning light." Then David accepted what she had brought him and said, "Go home in peace. See, I have heard what you said and have granted your request." Then Abigail went to Nabal, and there he was in the house, holding a feast fit for a king. Nabal's heart was cheerful, and he was very drunk, so he didn't say anything to him until morning light. In the morning, when Nabal sobered up, his wife told him about the events. When his wife told him about the events, his heart died, and he became a stone. About 10 days later, the Lord struck Nabal dead. When David heard that Nabal was dead, he said, "Blessed be the Lord who championed my cause against Nabal's insults and restrained his servant from doing evil. The Lord brought Nabal's evil deeds back on his own head." Then David sent messengers to speak to Abigail about marrying him. When David's servants came to Abigail at Carmel, they said to her, "David sent us to bring you to him as a wife." She stood up, paid homage with her face to the ground, and said, "Here I am, your servant, a slave, to wash the feet of my Lord's servants." Then Abigail got up quickly, and with her 5 female servants accompanying her, rode on the donkey following David's messengers, and so she became his wife. David also married Ahinoam of Jezreel, and the 2 of them became his wives. But Saul gave his daughter Michal, David's wife, to Palti, son of Laish, who was from Gilead. Well, we just read quite a story there. There are 3 ways that we look at these stories when we read them. What does it say? We have to have reading comprehension. What was it saying to the people of the time? We have to take things into context and understand the history and everything surrounding it. And what, if anything, is it saying to us today? So we just read that there was a man named Nabal, and he sent his shepherds out into this field with their sheep, and their shepherds met up with David's crew and their shepherds, and they all sort of hung out in the same field together. And David's men were very good to them. They fed them, they took care of them, they never took any of their stuff, they let their sheep graze in the pasture there in Carmel, and they all got along just fine. So there came a day of a festival, a day of feasting. And in many of the holidays, those days were sacred, and they were to be respected and honored. And so David says, let's see if this guy Nabal that sent his shepherds here that has all these sheep, he sounds like a cool dude. Let's go see if we can't hang out with him for this feast. And so he sends his messengers to Nabal and says, hey, my men were good to your men, and we would like to join you for this feast. And Nabal's like, meh, I don't know who this David guy is. There's lots of slaves that run away from their masters. What am I to him? I'm not giving him my food. I'm not sharing my stuff with him. So now David is mad. He's really ticked off. He's like, seriously, we were kind to this guy, and this is how he's going to treat us like we're nothing? He says, well, I'll show him. And he gathers up some troops, and they head off, and he's going to go take care of that problem. He's going to go kill Nabal and Nabal's men. And meanwhile, a male servant finds out about this, and he goes to Abigail's wife, and he says, look, your husband just did something really stupid. He just brought calamity on this household, and everybody's going to die because he was basically a jerk to David and his men. So Abigail she says, don't worry about it. I'm going to take care of it. And she makes all of this food, really good food, a lot of it for all of David's men. And she gets on a donkey and she goes out and she greets David. And man, he's fired up. He's ready to go kill some people. And he says, you know what? May Lord God do severely to me if there's even one person left in Nabal's house. I mean, he's mad. So she gets off the donkey, she presents him with all of this stuff, and she says, don't take it out on my husband. He lives up to his name. His name means stupid. But you're not stupid. Just, I will be your servant. Put this on me. Let me take care of it. I didn't know about your men. I didn't know that any of this was going on. Let me take care of you. And she explains to David, she says, look, you don't want to have the guilt of bloodshed on your hands. God is going to give you the kingdom. You are going to become king. But you don't want to have that guilt on you forever. And so she persuades him to basically calm down. That night, Nabal ends up getting very drunk and has a heart attack. And his heart turns to stone, and he's dying. And about 10 days later, he's gone. He takes his life. And David's like, you know what? Blessed be the Lord that championed for me, that God did this for me. So I didn't, I got upset, and I was about ready to murder the dude, but I didn't have to. God took this man away for me. And he was so impressed with Abigail, so very impressed with her, that he takes her to be his wife. So she is now David's wife, and he also takes another wife at that time. Meanwhile, his first wife, Michal, remember that was Saul's daughter that had been given to David. Saul takes that wife back and gives her to somebody else. Well, that seems a little strange in our culture today, doesn't it? That people could do that they could treat women that way. In the culture back then, women were taken care of by their husbands financially, economically. They were protected by their husbands. And it was not unusual for things of this nature to take place. So we look at it from our Western modern cultural eyes and think, that's terrible. But this was how things were done then. And it was an honor for Abigail to become David's wife because he respected her. He was going to take care of her. And he was very impressed with her. And she had a place in his home as his wife. So that's where we're going to leave off today. I hope you got something out of this. My takeaway from all of this is that, what is the old saying? Revenge is a dish best served cold. So David had to calm down because he was so angry that had he gone and done what he said he was going to do and just torn into Nabal and his men and killed him, that guilt would have been on him for the rest of his life. That sin would have been on him for the rest of his life. So when you are angry, and it's okay to be angry, don't go and do something that you're going to regret. So that's my takeaway from there. We learn a lot through the story of David. When we get together next time, we'll be looking at 1 Samuel 26. I hope you learned something today, and I look forward to meeting with you again another time. Have a great day, and God bless.